Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. So I thought I'd just make short videos on each lesson of the course that you guys will be teaching, which is a month course, minimum 16 lessons, 16 one-hour lessons in a group setting. I'm going to share some tips or some methods that I use, which I have found beneficial for the students. So I'm just going to go through that. I'm going to try to keep these videos as short as possible so you can watch through them quickly, inshallah. So first and foremost, the lesson 1 will be just an introduction, in terms of the virtues of Quran, the importance of studying the Quran, why it's a necessity, and also how we as teachers require from the students that they fully dedicate this whole month that they'll be taking on the course, because it is only a month course, and how every spare moment that they have in their day for this entire month, that they spend it, studying the Quran and really practicing it. So it's up to the teacher to really, embed that within the students, that no matter what, you have to get through all the lessons, and it's very, very important to stay on top of things, because it is going to be very fast in terms of the intensity. They are going to be learning things gradually every single day. But it's going to be doable, and it has been doable, for the students who have taken the class the previous month. So with that said, first and foremost is that just going through some of the aims of the course. Now this book, the introduction especially, this book was made for a group class setting, live session, face to face with the teacher. So some of the things may not be entirely relevant, but it's up to us to make sure that the etiquettes of the classroom are maintained. So for example, because it's going to be online, it's very easy for students to just be, flicking through some of their tabs, on the laptop or computers or whatever else, or replying to messages on WhatsApp. Because it's online and we can't really see the students, it's very important that we instill within them the importance of the adab of the classroom, of the class, because it's the Quran that they're studying, and it's not something which is something where we should be easily distracted from. So that's once again up to the teacher to really highlight that for the students, and amongst other things as well, like basic adab, to be dressed appropriately, to have wudu, and so on and so forth. So there's some du'as for knowledge, and for the teacher just to go through the du'a in terms of just reading it and going through the translation, maybe discussing it a little bit, not too much. So there's some du'as from the Quran, du'as from the Prophet ﷺ, which I mentioned in the hadith, which you can go through. A brief about tajweed, in terms of Quranic proofs, evidences, why it's important, why it's a must, that everyone should learn the correct pronunciation. So you can go through a bit more background of that as well, as it's just as the first part's going to be an introduction. And then the second part of the lesson is to go through the alphabets. Now the first lesson will only be 14 lessons, so ignore this. As I mentioned, just for a classroom setting, you don't need to follow that. Just follow the structure that I've given, in the message itself. So when it comes to the alif, for example, what I mentioned in regards to that is just for now the makhraj of that will be the emptiness of the mouth. We're not going to really discuss that further, and we can't really until we get to the hamza part. But for every other letter, they'll not only need to be able to pronounce the letters properly, of course, but also be able to tell you from memory where each of these sounds come from. So ba, moist part of the lips, the tip of the tongue touching behind the top 2 teeth. And the important thing is that not to get too technical, in terms of thana al-ulya, thana al-sufla, and all that. You don't need to mention that. It's a very basic course, and we want people who have no previous knowledge of Arabic itself to be able to understand it, and that's our main purpose. So when it comes to the letter tha, this is one that many students struggle with. They struggle to keep the tongue touching the edge of the top 2 teeth. So some letters you have to really try to get them to exaggerate the sounds. So for the letter tha, especially those students who are struggling with it, is to tell them to lick their front teeth. So taking the tongue out so much, tha, and use a mirror as well. Tell the students to use the mirror to see where the tongue is touching, and to pronounce it like that. Like the letter ha, as strong of a sound as they can do. Once again, exaggerating as much as they can. Obviously, when you're reading Quran, they're not going to be saying alhamdu, but they have to get that exaggeration, at the beginning, so they get used to it later on. Okay, same with letter kha and so on. And also try to use English examples like the letter tha, like words such as think, thought, thank. Give them these kinds of examples so they know, so they've got something to compare it to. So if they're saying sink instead of think, then they're pronouncing an S sound. In English, that will change the meaning. Think and sink, for example. Okay, so highlighting that to the students is very important because in English it changes the meaning, and also in Arabic you would do the same as well. Then you have the dal, zal, ra, etc. It's so similar thing, or same thing rather. For the dhal over here, like the tha, they'll struggle to take the tongue out, where they need to. So once again, exaggerate it, get them to lick their front teeth as they say dhal, the. Words such as the, this, those in English. It's always good to give examples in English as well. When it comes to the sad, the heavy letters, okay, we've gone through the kha as well previously. So right from the very first lesson, they should start to understand the heavy letters and the light letters. So in the first lesson, only up to 14 letters that we're going to see to the kha and the sad. So sad, how do you make it heavy as compared to the sin? The sad, when it comes to all the heavy letters, you have to raise the back end of your tongue, keeping it straight, applying as much pressure as you can to the bottom teeth, and making your mouth round, even though technically some may say you shouldn't really do that, but for a beginner student, I personally think it's fine, rounding of the mouth to make it heavy, and I personally think it's fine. I don't see an issue with that. And what I get the students to do as well is that start building the habit within them to, just give me a moment, so what I get the students to do is, okay, I use paint quite a lot in my lessons, so that's something you guys could use as well, is that whenever they come across a heavy letter, okay, from this day forward, until the very end of the course, I ask them to circle all the heavy letters, okay? So they'll put a circle wherever. You could put it on top of a letter, underneath a letter, wherever you want. But just so they know that these are heavy letters. So before they even attempt the letter, they have to, these certain signs I'm going to put later on as well, is a reminder, is a visual reminder for themselves that, okay, I've got to make my mouth round for this letter, I've got to make it heavy. So that really helps the students, and it gets them into the habit of understanding and reading the letters properly. Okay, so that's the first lesson, up to 14 letters, for them to be able to obviously pronounce them and to memorize the makharij of these letters. Now it doesn't have to be word to word as you've put it, but so what to do is get them to explain where each of the letters come from, and obviously as long as it's correct in their own words, it's fine. It doesn't have to be too detailed, just simple, straightforward, and it has to be correct, of course. And that's it. That's for the first 14 letters.